then you'll have a full group. Okay, so let's start the workshop with a question. Is Agile for you? Who here thinks that Agile is for you? Raise your hand. Okay, so workshop is done. Thank you. Okay, I was expecting a little bit more no, but okay. So, couple of agreements during this workshop because we are going to have some practical parts. So yeah, let's try to keep mobiles, laptops to a minimum so that we can all get the best that you get from this workshop. Raise hand tsunami. Don't know if you guys know this, but because we are going to do some practical exercises to try to keep the room quiet when someone needs to speak again, you just raise your hand. If you see someone raise your hand, you raise your hand as well, and then it just moves like a tsunami. Everyone gets quiet. We continue with the workshop. There will be a practical exercise. So you can see here there will be a scoreboard. That's why we are divided into teams. And yeah, let's sing, have fun. So I think for now we can do it for 1 minute. I would like you guys to get together in your tables, because I want to do a quick energizer so that we just have our breakfast. We just woke up. So the rule of the game is called 1, 2, 3, 4 Pong. So you go around your table. You say 1, 2, 3 ping, 4 Pong. 1, 2, 3 ping, 4 Pong. 1, 2, 3 ping, 4 Pong. So yeah, let's see how your coordination is in this morning. So 1, 2, 3 ping, 4 Pong. 1, 2, 3. So 1,
2, 3 ping, 4.
You guys do the same.
1, 2,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Everybody has the same number.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Run it around.
1,
5. Pong.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay. Okay, you guys have a bit of coordination. Let's make it a bit more different. So instead of ping, now you clap your hands. So whenever is the ping, you clap your hands. So
1, 2, 3. All of us.
yeah, of course. So 1, 2,
1, 2, 3. 4, 3. Punk.
1,
2, 3. 4. Punk. 1, 2, 3. 4. 3. Punk. 4.
Okay, take it, guys. Okay, cool. So we already started a bit more energized than just having a breakfast and waking up. So let me start a bit of this workshop. Why is it Agile important in nowadays? I don't know if you guys know this picture, but this is how much a technology took in terms of years to reach 15 million users. So you can see that back in the day when airlines became a thing, it took 68 years for the airlines to reach 15 million users. Facebook nowadays is 3 years, Twitter took 2 years, and Pokemon Go took 19 days. Like, technology is moving at a very, very, very fast pace, so fast that the waterfall. Oh, you wanted to?
It's okay.
I can send you after.
Yeah.
So this model doesn't work anymore. If you want to deliver something in 19 days, you cannot have this complex model. And this is because of one very simple rule, which is called Bowman's Law. So Bowman's Law comes from a guy, a professor, and a computer scientist called Barry Bowman. And he is the father of one of the development models as well. It's called the spiral model, which is really based on prototyping. And one of the laws that he has in that model is errors are more frequent during the requirement and design phases, and they become more expensive to remove in later phases. So this is why a couple of guys got together in a conference and decided to come up with the Agile Manifesto. We saw them yesterday, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. This is a very important thing. This is over, not instead. So this is one of the very common pitfalls that most people do when they start doing agile transformations or start thinking about agile is that, yeah, individuals in interactions, then let's scratch our processes and tools out of the window. No, we still need tools, we still need processes. We cannot program without tools. We are not going to open Notepad++ and start programming, right? So, yeah, the same one that you guys saw, working software over comprehensive documentation. In the end, if we go back to this, the customer doesn't care about all of this. This is done, it's beautiful, it's for managers to approve those gates, sign off and all of that. But in the end, you'll care about the thing that is in the end working. No one is going to care about the piles and piles of documentation that you created for your project to start when the project is already running. But, again, over. So you still need user manuals, you still need run books, you still need a couple of things to help your operations guys to continue to do their work, right? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So this is very important. You want to keep on talking and interacting with your customer and making sure that whatever you deliver in the end is exactly what he wants. It's not something that he thought about 3 years ago and then came up with a very extensive plan. You want to keep on having a collaboration with him, and with that comes also responding to change, because we don't know what we don't know. So the moment you start a project, there is a lot of unknowns. The more you know, the more you need to change, and that's more important than following a plan. There is a quote from, I think, the President Dwight Eisenhower that says, "Plans are useless, but planning is everything." And this is an example of that. You need to have a plan, but then you need to be able to adapt to whatever comes. If you go to this website, agilemanifesto.org, this is the source of truth for everything. You go there, somehow my number 4 disappeared, but doesn't matter. Those are the 4 values that I just showed you. There are also 12 principles there, which are really interesting, so you guys can just go there, take a look. But now, back to the question that I set up yesterday during the workshop. Agile and Scrum, which came first? Who knows? Guesses?
Scrum.
I heard Scrum, I heard Agile. The room is a bit divided. Scrum came first. So Scrum was created, invented, whatever you want to call it, by these 2 gentlemen in 1995. The Agile Manifesto came in 2001. So basically the Agile Manifesto is a collaboration between the guys from Scrum, the guy from XP, and a lot of other frameworks that were growing up at the time. And it happened when they all were in a conference, and they went into a hotel room, started sketching stuff and brainstorming and whatever. And yeah, it was 6 years after these 2 guys came up with Scrum. So these 2 guys is Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schreiber. They are still alive. Yes, so it's not like old methodology that everyone is dead and everyone is like a spiritual guru and whatever. Those guys are still very much alive. This guy usually comes to the Netherlands to teach people Scrum Master classes. I didn't have that pleasure, but 2 guys from my previous team had the pleasure to go there and learn how to become a Scrum Master from one of the creators of Scrum, which is super interesting. And everything Scrum related, site in the bottom, but I'll share them further on. Scrumguides.org, that is the source of truth. Like, that is the Scrum guide, everything it's there, created by these 2 gentlemen. So how does Scrum work? It's very simple. So, you start with the backlog, which is a product backlog, and as you can see the image, like you have a little bit smaller boxes and bigger boxes in the end. This has to do with detail. Like the closer you are to the top, the more detailed things are. So it means the more priority things that you are going to pick up, They are kind of better detailed, you know, kind of what needs to happen in the end. And here it will be more of a epic type of features that you don't know. Yeah, it could be a chunk of work that takes a month, you don't know, it's very sparse. So this is how a sprint works. Everything starts with a sprint planning. Sprint planning, product owner comes to the team with a goal. It's basically a challenge to the team. Team, in this sprint I want to do X, right? The team then looks at the backlog and says, for we to be able to deliver that X that you want, we need this story and this story and this story and this story and these stories, and they need to pull into the sprint, and that becomes what we call the sprint backlog. And that is the work that the team needs to do to start the sprint. Very important, we don't do a sprint planning based on velocity, so you don't come here and you say, oh, my team does 40 story points, let's pick 40 random things from the backlog and just put it into the sprint. No, the planning is done based on the goal. So the purpose and the outcome of every sprint is to reach a goal. It could be that everything that you pull that is goal related, it's not enough to keep the team busy for the whole sprint, and that's okay. You can always bring more stuff in. You can bring stuff in the middle of the sprint. That's not a problem. As long as the goal is met by the end of the sprint, everything is good. So you have the sprint planning, you come up with the sprint backlog, then you have your Scrum team that works in an interval of between 1 to 4 weeks, and this interval will depend a lot on your customer. So how quickly can you get feedback from your customer? If you can get it in 1 week and the stuff that you are doing is not that complex that you need more than 1 week to deliver, go for 1 week. But if your customer is very busy and you cannot get a hold of your customer for 4 weeks, then you have to go for a 4-week sprint, because in the end, you should always have a sprint review where the customer is there, you show the stuff to the customer says, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking when I meant I want to be able to put a red color on top of your web page, or no, that wasn't what I was saying, and then this will feed into the retrospective of the team and back to the sprint backlog, because again, we need to be able to respond to change. If the customer changes his mind, we change the backlog as well. The thing he knows, then it will take more time to do. We don't do miracles, right? And by the end of the sprint, if all is good, if the customer likes it, there is a potential shippable increment. And we say potential shippable because shipping is kind of more of a business decision. So you could finish something up, but then they want to hold on for 1 or 2 weeks because marketing or any other ideas. So it needs to be ready to be shipped, and it needs to be able to be demo to the customer, but then the shipping part, it will depend. And this is basically the gist of a sprint. Every day you have a daily scrum. So daily scrum is a very simple meeting where you look back at your sprint, you look back at your goal. How are we in achieving this goal? Are we good? Are we bad? Are we blocked? Do we need to bring something else to the sprint? Do we need to take something out of the sprint? So it's basically an ongoing discussion between the Scrum team, the product owner can be there as well. Anyone from the organization can be there. It's an open meeting because one of the pillars of Scrum is transparency, right? And usually it doesn't take more than 15 minutes. So most of these events, we call it events, not ceremonies. So that's a very big, important decision. All of the Scrum events are time boxed. It means that they shouldn't take more than that amount of time. It doesn't mean they cannot be shorter. That depends on the performance of the team, the amount of stuff that they want to talk, but you want to keep daily Scrum at 15 minutes because, yeah, otherwise it will impact a lot of your day and your productivity and so on. And you end up discussing things that basically are not goal related, and you want to keep the focus because one of the values of a Scrum team is focus. So, this is what I like to call the 3 little piggies of Scrum. So it's the 3 Scrum roles. So you have your product owner, your Scrum Master, and your development team. The product owner, he has a very important artifact that is him, his, and his to own. So the product owner owns the backlog. So this is a very important thing. That's why there is an owner in the name. Like, he needs to own the backlog. He needs to own the prioritization. He needs to own the stories that come in. That person and a sole person, he can respond and be accountable to his stakeholders, but he needs to own that part. So if the product owner says, no, we are not going to do this, the stakeholders and the customers need to respect that decision. He also is responsible and accountable for optimizing the value of the product backlog. So basically whatever the team delivers, he is the one that needs to make sure that that is valuable. And is also responsible for keeping the backlog clear, clean, and transparent, so that everyone in the organization knows exactly what this team is going to work on, and also for the team to know exactly what's there. The next little piggy, it's the development team. And the development team also has a very important artifact that they need to deliver, which is called the increment. The increment is what you deliver at the end of each sprint, which is could be a bunch of stories, tasks, bugs, whatever we want to call it, but it needs to be in a demoable state and it needs to bring value to the customer. The development team needs to be cross-functional, so everything that enters the sprint needs to be able to be tackled by the sprint, by the Scrum team itself. They don't have titles, so there is no leads, no architects, it's the team. You can have titles, of course, but in a sense, it's a team that works. There are no sub-teams in the Scrum team, so this is very important, especially in teams that you have, oh, I'm part of the back-end team, and I'm part of the front-end team. No, there is the team. The team delivers the thing in the end. I don't care if you're front-end or if you're back-end, you need to work together to deliver. They can have different expertise, of course. You can have guys that are more back-end, guys that are more front-end, but they work together as one team. And they are always accountable as a whole. If the guy from the back-end messes up and doesn't deliver, well, there is no guy from the back-end. It's the team. So the team didn't deliver, so you are accountable for delivering that. And the next one, which is my favorite role, because it's my role, and I consider it basically the linchpin of the whole Scrum team, which has one of the most important roles there, is the Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master has three roles, basically. It has a role of the Scrum Master for the organization, the Scrum Master for the development team, and the Scrum Master for the PO. So the Scrum Master for the organization, he coaches the organization into the adoption of Scrum. Is a change agent, so it helps change the organization to fit the Agile way of working, Agile mindset. It helps teams become more effective. It fosters empiricism, and this is very important. We are not going to do this because I feel it's bad. We are not going to do this because this data shows that this is the wrong way to go. And this proves that this and that and that. So it's not based on feelings, it's based on empiricism. And is a servant leader. So what does a servant leader mean? If the team needs you to do something, you need to do something. If the team is working on a project and they are suddenly blocked and they need you to go get coffee, well, you should go get coffee, because in the end you want the team to perform. So the role of the Scrum Master for the PO ensures that the goals are understood, the goals that the PO has. It helps the PO show the team what the goals are and make sure that they are understood. It coaches the PO in effective backlog management. It helps facilitate the events. Here is the part of the servant leader. So if the PO needs an extra meeting or something else, is the Scrum Master role to help the PO facilitate, find a meeting room, find a place. So it's kind of a bit of a personal assistant job, but it's part of the job. You need to help him because maybe he cannot do it. because he needs to go talk with the stakeholders or anything. He needs to be able to unblock. He coaches the PO on maximizing the value that exists in the backlog, and he also coaches the PO in agility to making sure that the PO understands the values and the principles behind the manifesto. To the development team, the Scrum Master's role is to coach the development team into self-organization. It's to help the development team in removing impediments, and this is very crucial because when you don't want your team to get blocked with something, so it's the role of the Scrum Master to help the team remove impediments. It doesn't mean that the team cannot remove them by themselves, and that's what you want in the end, to coach the team into arriving at a state that they will be able to remove their own impediments. But until they can do that, it's your job to do it. It helps, again, facilitate events if the teams need to find a knowledge sharing session or something like that. Scrum Master is there, also facilitating the Scrum events, making sure that the daily occurs at the same time and the same format, in the same place to reduce complexity. Coaches cross-functionality in the team as well, so basically self-organization and cross-functional. And in the end also coaches agility, makes sure that the team understands the values and the principles behind the manifesto. So this would be an example of a simplified example of how a sprint works. You have 1 to 4 weeks, you have the planning, you have the review, you have the retrospective, and the daily Scrum is an ongoing event that happens during the sprint. All good? Good. Now we have an exercise. Awesome. So I need 1 volunteer from each team to become a Scrum Master, and I'll be your PO. And let me see how much time we have. Okay, we can do 1 or 2 sprints. So if there is no volunteers, I'll choose a volunteer. You're smiling. You're a volunteer. You are a volunteer. And I noticed that people are moving your eyes away from me. Okay. Come here. So I have these marbles. Hold it here. You should have 20. You should have a couple of them as well, and you should have also 20. So, guys, pay attention. I'm your product owner now, and the goal that I have for you is to pass as many marbles between yourselves as possible. The Scrum Master will not be involved in passing the marbles around, but it will be involved in counting how many marbles the team passes around. And passing a marble around, there are only 2 rules. So, it needs to have, can you, maybe give me those. Okay. So, first rule, the marble needs to travel to the air. And the second rule, it needs to go from top to bottom. Okay? Sound fair enough? Cool. So, Scrum Masters, go back to your teams. And I'll give you 30 seconds for you guys to talk with each other and to think about your velocity. How much marbles do you think you're going to be able to pass around in 2 minutes? Okay? So, you got 30 seconds. I'll put it out.
How long will it take for you guys to get set?
We have to one by one.
No, you have to go through the air, as you mentioned. You have to really throw it. I don't know if it counts as
a solution.
Yeah. Okay. I think it makes sense that after you throw the marble to him, you can start sending another one to him. Yes. Yeah, maybe.
So there will be many marbles something around.
Well,
Okay, Scrum Masters. So, you guys will be team 1, team 2, and last team 2. How many do you think you can pass?
15.
50. Okay. How many do you think you can pass?
20.
20. Good. How many do you think you can pass? Team 3?
25.
25. Okay. 15. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, gather around in a circle. I think it's better for you guys to pass the things around. And I'll give you now 2 minutes. Again, Scrum Masters are not involved. Make sure that you count how many do a full circle. So it means that one needs to pass every member of the team, at least. So count how many you can do.
The Scrum Master doesn't throw.
No, Scrum Master just checks what is happening. Okay? 3, 2,
You have to pass them to me. Pass them to me. Wait. You don't second. Wait. You're moving too fast.
If it falls to the ground, it doesn't count. Okay?
Okay.
We have to use this matter, guys.
Well, I'm actually assuming that we started with 20. So. Well, no, because I ran out of backlog.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
How many? How many now?
We're more than 30.
100.
5 seconds. Okay, stop. Jesus, this is loud. Okay, Scrum Master. Team 1. How many did you do?
32.
32. Team 2?
380.
380. And team 1?
39.
Don't sit down. 29. Okay, so you guys did your first sprint. Now you get 30 seconds. Conduct a very quick retrospective, try to understand what you did and how you can improve on it. So, go!
What technique?
Just instead of
I don't know if it's compliant with the rules. Rule what they did like that. They have to travel so
Scrum Masters, what is the velocity for the Earth sprint now?
20.
20?
400.
400? No.
17 we can do it. For 2 minutes?
Yes.
That's a lot.
How many?
300? Yeah, about 300.
300? Okay, so now we are going to do another sprint of 2 minutes, but now there is one thing that you guys can do. Scrum Masters, at any time, you can come to me and ask me any question that you want to get answered about the well, the goal that you need to achieve in the end. So the sprint starts. Are you ready? Sprint starts now. Yeah, guys, they already started.
So,
What is the goal?
The goal is to pass as many marbles as possible. They need to travel in the air and come from one outside. That is my goal.
Okay. So like, you come all sprints together and just as many as possible.
Yeah, I want it. As a product owner, yes, I want as many as Scrum Masters, I also give you an advice. Look up at what other teams are doing because everyone is very transparent and maybe you can get some learnings from other teams. And the Scrum Master should not work in the sprints. The Scrum Master should be looking around and learning from other teams. Should be looking around and
seems a good strategy. You can start doing the same, so trying to pile it up. Stop. Yeah, exactly.
30 seconds.
Otherwise, it's passing around.
I think I missed the count now.
You are a good ambassador.
Almost time over. Okay, stop. Scrum Master Team
520.
520. And Scrum Master Team 3.
It's about 340, yeah.
340.
340, yeah.
Okay? So this will be your last sprint. You have a 30-minute 30-minute retrospective. Yeah, 30-second retrospective. Talk about it, see how you can improve. Go!
We only have 17 marbles. Instead of 100 marbles. It's not 100.
I don't have more marbles. You have to climb the Okay, guys. Last sprint. Scrum Masters, what is the velocity of your team?
600.
600.
300.
300?
About 420.
420. Okay? So get ready. Another sprint in the long start. Again, Scrum Masters, you can ask me anything. You can look around. Go!
Scrum Master, stay in your place. Stay in your place. Stay in your place. Don't move. Stay in your place. Don't move.
These guys will figure out also another part. Scrum Master should help me just as this possible.
Scrum Master.
Coffee.
Scrum Master doesn't work.
This is Scrum Master dash waterfall development.
Kids, do not keep your legs there.
15, so we already on the
Come on, keep going down.
You are a coach.
See, everyone goes to waterfall anyway.
It's a big
That's not the idea.
30 seconds.
We are better now.
Catch the ball. 10 seconds.
Einstellen. Fertig.
Time's up. So, how many do you guys need?
540.
525.
525.
We have a short backlog, okay?
Okay? Cool?
We only have to put 17.
Okay, you can put all the things here for now. So, yeah.
This waterfall method is...
This waterfall method really works, right? So that's the lesson. Forget Agile, waterfall is the way to go. Okay, I hope you guys had fun about it. And you guys can see here how much you improved just in 3 sprints.
Yeah.
Like, you started in single digits and quickly you guys ended up, all of you, in triple digits. Like, it's crazy, right? And what were some of the lessons that I saw here? So, you kind of self-organized. You didn't need someone to come and tell you, oh, this is the way you need to do to pass balls around. No, everyone knows how to pass balls around. And even if you don't know, you end up learning. Having transparency between the teams allowed you to look outside and see, oh, those guys are doing something really cool, and it's optimized, so why don't I bring this to my team as well? And one thing that I see on this team is they really got the use of their Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master became the one that picks up the balls. So that the team, this is very important because then the team can be focused on delivering what the goal was, and the Scrum Master was going back and trying to figure out, oh, a ball dropped, I need to put it back on the pot. So this is a really important lesson about how the Scrum work and how a self and autonomous team works. But there are pitfalls as well for Scrum, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the pitfalls. Pitfalls. The Scrum Master, for example, is not the product owner is not the owner of the backlog. There are a committee or someone that owns the backlog. If I had to discuss with a lot of people on how the hell would you guys pass balls around, it would take a long time. Scrum Masters that are not empowered to help the team is also a common pitfall. And one of the biggest ones is, going back to the waterfall, you pick up and you just do this. So you spend a lot of time doing your own backlog, refining it, and do it for several months. And then you pass here and you say, okay, now we do sprints of 1 to 4 weeks. But we spent 1 year doing this. So we are agile because we do sprints. And then we push things to operations. And the guys in the operations deal with that in the end, after the work. So this is one big pitfall you guys should be aware. I only have 4 minutes, so I'll do a very quick introduction. So this is how it should be, not this. Very quick. Oh. Yes, this is important. So this is a big pitfall because you don't want to spend much time on it. Things that should be in the backlog should be as refined as this. As a participant of this workshop, I want to learn about Kanban. I don't want you guys to tell me how I'm going to teach you about Kanban. I want you to tell me that you want to learn about Kanban. I'll decide how to do the Kanban. So it should never have a how, it should only have an end goal. And that's how we're going to move very quickly to Kanban. So Kanban comes from signboard. Just that's what it means. Comes from Toyota. This is usually how Kanban looks like. You have ideas that get refined, and as they are getting refined, they end up in a to-do list that is ordered based on priority. Teams pick up items based on priority. There is a thing that we like to call work in progress limits on the doing column. That's there to assure us that the team is focused on delivering things into that, not just pulling things into the doing column. And usually when you mix Kanban with Scrum, you end up with something like this. You have your to-do column, you have your doing that has development, testing, and periodic reviews, and then the items end up in the done state. That's usually what you see in the as Scrumban or the springboard of most teams. Again, find me anywhere. You guys are free after this to reach out to me, to ask any questions. You have my blog, I post every day, so if you want to learn about leadership, Agile, Lean, whatever, there are a lot of stuff there. But yeah, feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn. Ask any questions, I'm free to help you guys with whatever questions you may have. These are some of the websites that you need to keep in your toolbox as a Agile, whatever you want to call it. So the manifesto, scrum.org, from Ken Schreiber, Scrum Inc., from Jeff Sutherland, Mountain Goat, from MyCon, which is really cool, and the blog from Toyota, which has a lot of stuff from Kanban, Lean Manufacturing, and so on. And to leave you also with a couple of things in your toolbox. If you are interested, search for objectives and key results, also known as OKRs, used by a lot of companies like Google and Netflix and so on. Liberating structures for conducting meetings and workshops with your teams. Lean, which is basically Toyota model from Lean Manufacturing. And an awesome thing to have in your toolkit as well is Design Sprints, which it comes from Google Ventures, which is really cool. And we have 1 minute. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I have one. When you were speaking about the roles on the team, does the Scrum Master can also participate in the development, or is that a bad practice?
It's a bad practice because, as you saw here, the Scrum Master needs to be able to have free time to do all the other stuff that is around. So if the Scrum Master was there doing the balls, passing the balls, he cannot be there to pick up the balls that are falling around. And what happens when you have a Scrum Master and a developer is that the developer role kind of kicks in as soon as the sprint starts going sideways. You need to finish your code, you need to get your pull request done, you need to ask your colleagues for help on that, and then you're not as able to coach them into doing the Scrum part.
So it's better that the Scrum Master is not a developer, actually?
Yeah, Scrum Master should be a role by itself, Product Owner should be a role by itself. They should never, Product Owners and Scrum Master should never be the same role, because then, yeah, you cannot be searching for business value and coaching a team at the same time. So, but a Scrum Master can help more than one team. But he shouldn't be a developer, because then he may get caught up in the development part.
And if you have a team that does work for several products, is that possible to implement something like this? That if you have multiple product owners, how do you...
One team should only have one product owner. Yeah, because there needs to be one person deciding on the priorities. If you have 30 people deciding on the priorities, everyone will make their own priorities. So what you have in that case, you can have one product owner for the team, for the product that the team delivers, and each one of the other, whatever, become stakeholders that have to interact with this product owner. But this one person will be responsible for prioritizing the backlog and communicating with them.
But you should be able to change things without have to ask all of the other persons. Okay?
Of course, he needs to own the backlog.
Yeah,
the backlog is
his.
Yeah.
It's not just the person who finds the thing.
Exactly. Cool? Okay, I have just one final request for you guys. Please come to this side. I have some post-it here. I would like to get your input on the return on investment of this workshop. How do you guys feel this workshop worked for you? I'll give you a post-it, just pick up the post-it, put it wherever you think